On the other side, always it's said that it's either too late, too little, too late, or it's like saying that, okay, the time is on our side, so they're playing the time game. But as a matter of fact, in the last 48 hours, we can say that more steps are taken, which including different steps, and people will have to feel it, because otherwise...
They are taking steps. I
yes.
mean, they are trying to show that they're committed to change in Egypt.
Yeah.
There's this new nomination now of a new prime minister who the pro-democracy activists are likely to accept, because he was, in quote, one of them. So we are hearing at the same time that they're planning again to still protest tomorrow, Friday.
Yeah.
What is it going to take to end all these demonstrations?
I mean, as a matter of fact, as a matter of principle and a strategy, the protesters or the people, as a matter of fact, because protesters are, if they are a few thousand, I mean, they are usually reaching a few hundred thousands. The whole thing is that unless if the revolution starts, but it's not, doesn't end. And the demands...
So what is it going to take for the revolution to be over?
I mean, it's over to form, to elect a president, or to form a system with which it can work. And now it's like every day I have to come and ask you something, and you say, oh, maybe or not. And accordingly, if there is a need, there is a will, there is a way. And this will, they are trying to call it the Tahrir will. And so it's by this way you put demands until there is a need for a good government. There is a need for a government that is taking care of the people. Still, banks are working, but the stock market is not working. Still, people need to go back to work. Still, people have to feel safe and secure in the streets. Still, people have to send their kids to schools and universities. Most of these things are not fulfilled, or these demands are not met.
So the revolution continues then. Thank you.
I think so.
Thank you very much, Thomas Gorgasian, for your insight. Thanks. Now let's cross to Tariq Baisley at our web desk now for the latest details on that announcement in Egypt.
Well, thanks, Folly. The announcement of the resignation of the Prime Minister appears to have been made online. This website, the Facebook page of the Supreme Council for the Armed Forces, a site where previous announcements have been posted, was where it first appeared. And this is the official announcement, the acceptance by the Supreme Council of the resignation of the Prime Minister. The statement goes on to say that it's given Dr. Essam Sharaf the job of forming a new government. Well, that move appears to have been met online with a largely positive response, remembering, of course, that Essam Sharaf took part in the anti-Mubarak protests. Taking a look at the micro-blogging site Twitter, Annie Rebecca says the best part of it all is that Essam Sharaf isn't a military man. Hard not to feel optimistic about that. And Adham Ghazali says an engineer can solve problems and may be the best transition choice for Egypt, providing he works for the people. One note, though, of scepticism. Idea Nano says they may have removed Shafiq, but have they removed him for the reasons we wanted, or because he exposed them? Well, it's interesting to see that during the revolution in Egypt, the web played a key role in organising the protesters and also giving them a voice. Now the military and the top brass at that are also very much aware the web and its power is a great way of getting the message out. Back to you now, Folly.
Thank you very much, Tariq. Now, more on the uprising in Libya. After a day of fighting for control of the oil town of Brega, there's been another air attack there. The rebels say they're pushing Gaddafi forces back. Libyan rebels armed with rocket launchers, anti-tank aircraft guns and tanks have shored up defenses to fight off Gaddafi's forces. The United Nations says camps on Libya's border crossings are at a crisis point, with tens of thousands of foreign nationals still trying to flee the country. There are more than 50,000 Bangladeshis still trapped there, and their government says it has no evacuation plan for them. AlJazeera has learned that Muammar Gaddafi has accepted an offer by Venezuelan President Hugo Chavez to mediate the crisis in Libya. Dima Khatib has the details from Caracas.
Venezuelan President Hugo Chavez spoke on the phone to Muammar Gaddafi and proposed to him the idea of forming a commission for peace in Libya, and Muammar Gaddafi is said to have approved that idea. From then on, the Venezuelan foreign minister contacted Amr Moussa, the Secretary General of the Arab League, and I am told by a government source in Venezuela that Amr Moussa also approved the mediation idea. So Venezuela is trying to basically form this commission. It's in touch with several Arab countries and Latin American countries, as well as countries in other places as well, and organizations such as UNASUR, which is the Union of South American Nations, and ALBA. And we hope in the next few days to find out exactly what the efforts will be about and what they hope to reach in mediating between the government in Libya and the representatives of the rebels.
Now, in 2004, 5 Bulgarian nurses were found guilty by a Libyan court of deliberately infecting hundreds of children at a Benghazi hospital with HIV. They spent years on death row before finally being freed and sent home in 2007. Sonia Gallego spoke to the nurses who have always maintained their innocence and say they had been tortured into confessing.
It was an ordeal she will never forget. 3.5 years have passed since Valia Chervenyashka and 4 other Bulgarian nurses were released from a Libyan prison. All of them accused of deliberately infecting hundreds of children with HIV. A claim refuted by several foreign medical reports who said that poor hygiene and reused syringes were the most likely cause of the infection. But it took 8 years of legal wrangling and torture before they were allowed back to Bulgaria. Today, working as a pediatric nurse in a northern Bulgarian town, Valia Chervenyashka has put the torment behind her, but she still bears the scars of her time as a prisoner in Libya.
In the jail, the investigators began to question me about my mother's and father's names. Then they started to ask me about AIDS. I told them I didn't know any more than anybody else. And they said, "What do you mean you don't know? You don't know?" They put a pole behind my knees like that, my legs and my arms tied up like this, and they lifted me. I was hanging like an animal. And they started to beat me on my feet with a pipe. And again they asked, "What do you know about AIDS?" I lost my consciousness. They put beetles and other insects on me, and then the electricity on my left arm and the right leg. At this moment, you feel like dying, but I resolved to never sign the false confession.
Well, it took a while for your government to react. You must have been thinking through all this time, what's taking them so long?
We were waiting for help all the time, but our government was not responding, and we did not know why. All the time, the policemen were saying that they will kill us because we are criminals. And then help came really late when Saif al-Islam, on behalf of his NGO, took the matter to the Bulgarian embassy. Saif al-Islam and his father Gaddafi were playing the good and the bad cop.
Years of imprisonment left the nurses in doubt as to whether they would ever leave Libya alive. Their final release left Christiana Vulcheva bewildered.
All of us, we were the same, with the same feeling. Then after, few days later, month after month, you realize and you taste the freedom.
Freedom from the death sentence passed down by Libya's questionable judicial system. A system critics say is dependent on Colonel Gaddafi's whims, rather than the people it's meant to represent. Sonia Gallego, AlJazeera, Sofia, Bulgaria.
In other world news, another mass grave has been found in southern Mexico. That's the 5th since June. Police chiefs in